Welcome to the New Union Frontier, La Nouvelle Frontière Syndicale, a podcast that brings you the latest news from CIU, the Customs and Immigration Union, from victories to challenges and everything in between. I'm Amanda, and this podcast was made for you, our members, to keep you informed, engaged, and empowered. And if you're not a member, don't worry, we'll be happy to have you along for the ride. Nous sommes là pour veiller à ce que vous restiez en contact avec votre syndicat et que vous sachiez ce qui se passe à chaque étape. C'est un plaisir de vous avoir avec nous. Now let's get started. Hello again, and welcome back to another episode of the New Union Frontier. Today we have with us CIU's Human Rights Representative, John Bay. Hello, John.
Sego, Grego, Zawanona Yungets. Hello, my name is John Bay. I'm the CIU National Human Rights Rep.
Nice to have you here. Thanks for joining us. So, John, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm a Ganyakahaga man from Akwesasne, Mohawk, born and raised there my entire life. Currently a Border Services Officer at the Port of Akwesasne / Cornwall in the city of Cornwall. I've been a BSO for the past, Border Services Officer for the past 15 years. Prior to that, I was actually working for Customs in a different position. I was Assistant Director for Mohawk Security.
Oh, interesting.
Back when we were on Cornwall Island, we were in charge of kind of protecting CBSA officers when they went out and did secondary and whatnot. So we were kind of there as like a backup secondary team.
Interesting. It's got to be an interesting collaboration.
Absolutely was. And that kind of sparked my interest in border security and joining CBSA because I got to know the officers. And that's part of the reason why I joined the agency, because I saw the deficit. I saw that the community was painting the officers with one brush and vice versa. The officers were painting and kind of stereotyping the community with one brush. So I decided to apply and I went through the process. No fast tracking. Took 2 years and eventually I got hired. I went to Rigo and started my work for the agency. But the purpose was to bridge the gap and to show the customs officers that not everybody from the community was one way, and to show my community, not everybody that worked at customs was this way. There are nice guys there, nice officers, and they're human beings.
So the Akwesasne region, you said you're from, borders both, it's both in Canada and the U.S. Did that pose any challenges with respect to the border crossing, anything like that?
Absolutely. You learn at an early age to bring your identification.
In case you wind up on a wrong street?
We have children in the community that remind their Luganis and their Estas, their fathers and mothers, that you have to bring our ID to cross the border. So from an early age, we're taught that. I was born in Ontario. I was raised in Quebec, but I went to school in New York State. I had a U.S. driver's license, living in Quebec. So that alone was a nightmare, learning the geography. So to explain that to somebody in Ottawa, for example, is hard to explain unless you see it. You have to come down. Akwesasne borders 2 countries, so the United States and Canada, and it also is in Quebec, Ontario, and New York State. And then the island ranges range from Quebec all the way to Alexandria Bay and then on.
Oh, wow. A lot of geography to cover.
Absolutely.
Sure, the paperwork was a nightmare trying to renew your license, all of that.
Well, yes, and a lot of the issue was we all had P.O. boxes because we didn't have home delivery. So
Right.
that became an issue as well. I try to explain that to the officers at the port of entry to kind of give them a better understanding of where we're coming from. So it seems to help.
So given all that background and your unique knowledge for that specific area, what made you choose to get active in the union?
Well, I think it's like everyone who gets involved initially. You see our employer not treating people correctly, the right way, or at least the right way in an ideal world. For example, my position as human rights rep, in an ideal world, we wouldn't need my position. And that's my ultimate goal, is to not have a position, because I want everybody to be treated fairly. So I think seeing that in the workplace, seeing that different officers were being treated differently, I started to get active. But even within the union itself, we had our flaws. So at a certain point, I withdrew and then I came back. And that happens. You rethink, should I be here? Should I, because becoming a steward, you kind of, it's not like a bullseye on your back, but you're targeted more. You feel like you're disciplined more. They say there's no retaliation and things like that for filing grievances and whatnot. But unfortunately, human nature takes over and you do go through that. And it's noticeable as your union steward. You kind of get looked over for promotion. You kind of get looked over for different things. And
I'm sure it adds up. Yeah. Like be frustrating trying to.
Absolutely. It's talking to a wall half the time, trying to explain a situation to, like I had mentioned earlier, people from points of privilege, places of privilege who don't really understand. And even if you explain it to them in a most elementary way, they still can't comprehend because they've never lived it. But I try to educate.
I'm glad we have the position available. Unfortunately, that we do need it. But so was it that passion in your background that made you choose to run for human rights in particular? Was it that drove you there? Or?
Well, I'm from the community, and the president of Eastern Ontario was talking to the human rights rep, 2022, I believe, 2021. And they connected us. I was chief steward at the time of the Port of Cornwall. And we kind of collaborated, and then we started meetings together. And then during those meetings, he's like, you have a different point of view, different way of seeing things. So I brought a lot of knowledge with me, and I opened his eyes to some things as well. So after about a year of working together, he brought me to convention. Before that, he had said, I'd like you to run for my alternate. And then I thought about it. I'm like, wow, really? Like, after being overlooked so long from my employer, somebody from my union saw something in me.
And for a national position, no less.
And for a national position, this little native guy from Akwesasne, somebody saw something. I was like, yeah, right, what's the catch? But there was no catch. He saw something in me and we moved forward, and I was voted in, and I've been his alternate for about a year and a half. And then in February, he resigned, and I took over, not thinking I was prepared, and not thinking I was ready to move on. Like, hey, this guy who saw something in me, he's no longer here. But luckily I have a good core of people. I have a headquarters. They're very supportive. I go to them quite frequently for answers. My LROs, national executives have been quite helpful with my transition. I'm still learning, and I'll continue to learn. Yeah, that's how I got the position.
Yeah, from what little interaction we have through the national office, you do seem very passionate and very skilled for the job. So I'm happy to have you here and part of the national executive and here talking with us today, sharing your point of view. Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. It means a lot.
What is one thing that you'd like members to know about the role? Maybe difficulties, challenges, or what you're focused on?
Many of you may not know this. It's a story. Well, I'm a recipient of the King Charles Coronation Medal.
Oh, congratulations.
Which was given out to public servants. For me, there was no special award ceremony. There was no to-do. There was no big hoopla, nothing.
No pomp and circumstance, no nothing.
Exactly. There was no bring your family, come on down. It's a big celebration. The only Mohawk from Akwesasne that works for CBSA, there was nothing. I was given the award on what we call a Toonie Tuesdays, where management brings some staff in, and it was kind of just given to me, and good job. They wanted to take a photo op after. They asked me, and they're like, oh, we'll take a photo. And I'm like, no. I said, I refuse to be a token. I refuse to, let you parade me around and show me off like you want me to be. I'm not that person. So I'm treated that as an equity group, and I don't stand for it. Neither should any of our members. And as long as I'm here, I will do my best to make sure people who are treated that way have somebody to go to. without fear of reprisal.
Anything similar to that you've seen in your tenure of that kind of reprisal against equity groups or the like?
Really, anyone who speaks up, anyone who vocalizes, anyone who comes forward with anything. Historically, our employer has retaliated against those individuals and against those union stewards who have helped those people. And it's not the correct and proper way.
Is there anything you currently have on the docket that you're working on? Anything you're...
One thing I'm trying to implement right now, we're in the process of selecting candidates for the upcoming equity conference, which is going to be great. So we're allotted a certain number of seats. And then we have, with my committee, we're coming up with the process. So it's a little different for me. Like, I've never been in that kind of a selection process, but it's pretty neat. And I'm looking forward to bringing new people to the event, new people to the conference, because we need to inspire and continue to inspire, because I can't do this forever. I need somebody to take over eventually. And like everyone else, we get old, we get older, we retire. Somebody needs to fill our shoes and continue the work we're doing. So we're doing that, but we're also doing so many other little things behind the scenes. Like, we put out posters. Many of you may have seen them in your locker rooms regarding who you can talk to if you've ever been discriminated against, for any reason, if you've been harassed. So we're starting those. And right now we're currently in the 16 days of activism. So different things we want to implement, and I do plan on running again, and I would love to see what I can do with 3 full years.
Good luck. So you'll be running this following September in 2026 at our triennial convention.
Yes, I would love to.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Do you have anything interesting you've learned about the union since participating? Good or bad?
All bad, no. But no, since taking on the role officially as the National Human Rights Rep, and being able to go to National Board of Directors and have my input there and have a committee, and we're all talking, and you see behind the scenes, it's kind of like being Dorothy going to the land of Oz and seeing behind the curtain and seeing how everything operates. And that's part of what we're trying to do also with the Human Rights Committee. We're trying to come up with different ways of bringing people who haven't had a chance to come to board to see what's going on. Because you hear, oh, you guys are just having a vacation, nothing gets done. That's not the case. The case is we're working hard, and we're debating, and we're challenging each other to put the best things forward for the betterment of all of our members. So when I first went, I was like, wow, and I had to tile the doors, and I couldn't let anybody in, and there was a whole procedure, and yes, to take order. And I think having people come and see those things, that's important. Even as staff, I found it the same. Like, I'm the other side of the table from you, but similar. I showed up and was like, oh, okay, it's a board of directors meeting. What's going to happen? And it felt more like Law and Order, but in a good way. Like, strong debates, people back and forth across the table to make sure that, not because they're fighting with one another, but to make sure that they are tabling the best possible thing for the members. Optics from the outside looking in, it looks like we don't like each other. It looks angry, but everyone's on good terms, and the camaraderie is great. You're just passionate. Because we're all on one team. To me, it's the best team. I ever want to leave this team. And we're moving forward to one direction, to a common goal. And everybody wants to be treated equal. Everybody wants to be treated fairly. It doesn't matter what your race is. Doesn't matter what your gender is. We all have the same rights. We all have responsibilities as human beings on this earth to ensure everybody is treated equal. So we're more vocal now. And I'm educating officers in Cornwall, and they're like, John Bay, I see it. You're right. And I have people coming to me. I didn't notice. Now I notice. So all these things are happening, and it's great, because that's how union activism happens. And it starts moving around, moving and shaking, and getting people involved, getting the young workers. I just went to a meeting with young workers, and I brought 2 young workers with me from Cornwall on the Zoom meeting, and it went well. And the young workers rep, Kevin Kerr, said this was one of the best meetings we've ever had. And I was like, I don't want to take any credit. I said, you ran it, but you know what? I'm going to continue to tell those young workers, let's go. You guys need to go there. You guys need to have your voice because they are an equity group as well. And we need to start listening to them.
Any young workers listening right now, you can join us for our next meeting, which is also found on the CIU website if you'd like to join us. Considering all of the headlines we have seen recently with the CBSA and human rights concerns, do you have anything to elaborate with that and their behavior?
It's unfortunate that our employer only seems to react after there's a media frenzy. You know, if they'd follow legislation before it got to that point, we wouldn't be in the situation that we're in.
And if any of the members listening today or in the future have any concerns with respect to human rights, what's the best place for them to contact or seek assistance?
Go to the posters in their locker rooms and on their union boards at their ports of entry. Go on the CIU website. PSAC also has a website they could utilize. Talk to their local stewards. Attend different meetings. Reach out to me if you're not comfortable for whatever reason. Talk to me situation-wise. I can guide you. But our teams are good, and we're all in it for the right reason. So feel confident in any one of your union stewards at your ports.
And thanks again, John, for joining us. Any final thoughts before we close out this episode?
Just don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to be that guy to call somebody out when somebody makes microaggressions or gaslighting somebody or makes inappropriate remarks. I know we're in a law enforcement atmosphere, and sometimes those things do happen. It doesn't make them right. And just because we've condoned them in the past doesn't make them right. Don't be afraid to step up and say, hey, that's not cool. That's not right. We shouldn't talk like that. Just treat people the way you want to be treated. That's all. Simple.
Thanks again for joining us once more, John. It's always a pleasure to have you on the podcast. Anyone joining us for the first time or returning, links are in the description below. You can check out our website at CIU-SDI.ca to keep up to date on newsletters, meetings, board of directors meetings, podcast contest, and all of the fun stuff that we're doing at CIU.
Yeah, we'll go. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the New Union Frontier, La Nouvelle Frontière Syndicale. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe and follow us in your favorite podcast app so you never miss an update. Got questions or any topics you'd like us to cover? Send them our way. We can be reached at comms@ciu-sdi.ca. I'm Amanda, and we'll catch you on our next episode. Stay informed and restez solidaires.